My name is Jim Glavan, and I am on the faculty at Department of Theater and Dance, and I teach the costume technology program courses. And I'm originally from Tampa, Florida, and grew up in a little town called Madison, Ohio. I made the goat mascot head that you see behind me. My inspiration for this was, we're all working from home, and the quarantine lifestyle can make you a little bit lonely. So I decided to make a housemate or a studio mate that was compatible with me. So I'm a Virgo. So if, a little shy, a little critical, I don't like taking center stage, but I love animals, right? So if you have any sympathy towards the astrological signs, you know that Virgos and Capricorns are compatible. They're both earth signs. They're loyal, grounded, determined. And they say, we are a couple that knows that any problem is there to be solved and anything broken is there to be fixed. So the character then came a little bit later, right? Because the project came a little bit later. So the goat mascot head is now Gilbert. Well, Gilbert is the drummer in the band that supports Buddy. And Gilbert is more of a Buddy Rich, Max Roach wannabe. So Gilbert is also a butt of a lot of drummer jokes, as you might imagine, right? Supposed lack of musicality and with dubious timekeeping skills. But Gilbert knows the truth is that the band is only as good as its drummer. So Gilbert accepts happily the acronym GOAT. And he believes this truly, that he is the greatest of all time. Well, I think the biggest challenge anytime that you're making a character, and this is a character, a mascot head character, is making sure that it has enough personality, right? There's nothing more droll than having a big character like this who is just dull, right? Who doesn't have any personality. So that's really one of the hardest things is to make him have a character out of him, give him some personality. So I tried really hard to give him a look that would make you either laugh or have a reaction to. The other is the horns, right? When I sculpted and made these horns out of the EVA foam that we used, maybe the EVA foam was a little bit too thick for horns, but I needed them to have some sturdiness. But the cylindricalness of them, right? The tight cylinder as it moved towards the point, put more and more pressure on the seams of the pattern pieces, and they wouldn't stay together. They kept opening up and coming apart. So both horns are wrapped in masking tape in order to keep them contained. And so that was a problem at the beginning. And also inserting the helmet. The helmets, there's different ways to make helmets for these guys. You can buy a commercial helmet. You can use sometimes they use a wrestler's helmet. It's very, very small and thin, but the mask has to be attached to the helmet, right? So it depends on how heavy or how sturdy it needs to be. But I decided to make EVA foam helmets, right? And this was just a mock-up helmet. It looks exactly like a helmet. Inside there's a strap with a quick release buckle, and it's reinforced on the outside, and it has some extensions on the top, and those extensions are the space between the helmet and the inside of the mask, right? And so I put the extensions on, I glued them on, and then trying to put your helmet on and then put the mask on yourself in these COVID days was quite a challenge. I had hat pins sticking through. I'd be like almost blind because I couldn't see what I'm doing, and I just have hat pins going through, and if I hit my skull, then I knew I went too far into that. So putting in the helmet was one of the biggest challenges. Okay, so the sculpt of this mascot head, what we do is we sculpt, we make a maquette of each character, right? And this is it's a miniature. I have mine in 1/3 scale, right? Because I enlarged this. I knew what my final size would be, so it's 12 inches tall. So I sculpted this at 4 inches. So, and then the rest proportionally from there. But the sculpt is important because it's important to learn how to do, and it's important for students to learn how to do, because this is your conversation with your director or your producer. You can create your maquette, and they're easy to change. They say, I don't like this, I don't like that. And they're also easy, once you get the maquette accepted, then it's easy to make pattern from them, because all of these projects, as you can see, are pattern centric, right? You've got to have patterns for everything. So you can see on the sculpt then is I try to add seam lines to the sculpt every time a plane changes direction, right? So we've got the front plane, then a side plane, and a cheek plane. And so all the different planes get their own little section, their own little pattern section. Once we have this, well, actually it's covered, we cover it with saran wrap and plastic wrap, and then regular tape, right, magic tape, and then we cut them out with the X-Acto blade. So we have all of these little mini pattern pieces. And back here you can see I have an example of the original pattern piece right off of the sculpt, and here's the full size enlarged, right, of that one pattern piece. It looks very logical when you look at it here, but as soon as you cut these off and you lay them on the table, they make absolutely no sense at all. So it's very important to number them. Each one has a number, and they're all marked with which pattern piece they're next to. So if this is pattern piece 1 and this is pattern piece 10, I've got a little 10 on the top, so show that, okay, this edge of this pattern matches this side of this pattern. So, and also there's little notches along the way, so the patterns will go together smoothly. So it's a complex little piece of sculpture, and then the pattern making, but it really works. EVA foam is, it's actually called ethylene vinyl acetate, which is a group of dangerous chemicals, we all know. So it's best if it's left in this form and not heated and not melted and not create any fumes. So with the EVA foam, we cut this foam with razor blade, and it gets a nice, sharp, clean edge. And then we glue it together with barge cement. This is a great cement for this because it's flexible. And if you make a mistake, you can heat it with a hairdryer, pull it apart, and start over again. So this is a nice product for this kind of foam work. Of course, you have to wear all the protective gear that you need in order to protect yourself. And we always do this, of course, outside and never in the building. The assembly is just, you have to very carefully apply this adhesive so there's not too much spillage on the outside, because you want to always keep your work nice and clean. And with this glue, it's a contact cement. So you paint it on, you let it dry, and then you put it together. So it doesn't work if it's still tacky or slightly wet. It'll just pull apart. So yeah, so it's a lot of pattern pieces that need to come together. And like I said, if there's a lot of pressure on the seam, it pulls the glue apart, and you've got to do some supportive, clever supportive taping. So as you can see, I wanted to make this goat, and I found some great faux fur that was like a long-haired, curly sheepskin. So I was able to use that as its covering, and a lot of it, especially on the sides of his face and the front of his face, I was able to cut down with clippers so that it kind of gives him a cleaner look and where we need it, and a nice fluffy look at the top of his head and at the tip of his ears. So, and his little beard. So some of the finishes are, I've used a variety of materials. Most of it is foam. The foundation is foam, and of course fake fur. I also like a product called Headliner foam, which is, you buy it in the upholstery store. It's the foam that's on the top of your car and on the sides of your car, called Headliner foam. It's really nice. It's got fabric on one side. It's about 1/4 inch, and it has a nice manipulation to it. So the nose is just folded and glued, and then painted with latex and a little bit of acrylic paint. And also the cheeks are made from fleece. Right, it's just a regular fleece from the Joann Fabrics. There's a professional fleece that's used that I made that Henson makes their puppets out of right here. It's called Antron fleece. And that's really specific to it's really good for puppet making. So I use that, a little bit that on his cheeks. You can buy spheres, plastic spheres. Eyes on these characters are really important. So whether you purchase your own sphere, if that's the shape you want, or sometimes you can vacuum form your own eye shapes. So the first thing I'd like to say is that this whole project is really a pedagogical choice on my part. I think it's really important in a program of study in costume technology or even in theater to provide students with the ability to make masks. Masks are important and were used in the ancient Greeks, and they've been used in events, theatrical events, cultural events ever since. So, and mascot heads in particular, which is a full head mask rather than just a face mask. They're used at Disney, they're used at Jim Henson, they're used on Broadway, athletic events particularly. So it's an important set of techniques and skills that I want the students to have before they go out into the job market. And this little guy, I think something that gives him a lot of personality for me is of course, his glasses down on his nose. So anything that you can do to give your character a little bit of personality is great and give it some amusement. So you sort of get a look of his whole body shape, his whole head shape. And also the interior, everything is finished quite beautifully on the inside. It's all finished around the outside with tape, right, and a fabric tape, so it's not scratchy for the actor. Again, you also have to make these characters actor-proof, and so they have to be sturdy. That's the first thing you learn. And also, if you look I don't know if you can see you can see the inside a little bit. You'll see that I was able to cut out breathing spaces for air to flow. So I cut out as much of the foam as possible and allow air to flow inside and through this mask without compromising the structure. So there's air all the way through, and because the helmet is black, which you want it to be, it's almost impossible for you to see it in this image. But you can also see that I've got chin straps here of quick release buckles, right? You can see those against the white. So it fits very well on the head. It's very well balanced, which is really important. And yeah, there we are. There's Gilbert.